Good morning to you, and also good morning to your viewers. What takes place is that a private citizen then takes on the role or ropes in the rope which will be roped in by the NPA. So what a prosecutor would do in a normal case is what a private prosecutor is going to do. So if you arrive at court and a matter is not enlisted on the roll, which is purely an administrative error that can be rectified, if you have all the set notices being recorded that indeed on this day, this matter is supposed to sit on the roll, you can go to the court registrar and tell them, here's my notice of set down, please enroll my matter, and it's going to be heard by a presiding officer who's going to be able to hear it. What you're going to do then in a situation such as this one is that you are going to have the court as to where you are in terms of getting the matter court ready or trial ready. Remember, it would have been the first time in which the president was then deemed as the accused would have appeared. So it's up to the prosecutors to then say, here's an interdict which was given to us or an order which was given on this particular day. It is purely due to circumstances beyond our control. However, we can update you that at the end of the day, the date of the 17th and 18th of May has been set down as hearings. Maybe let's give it more than 2 weeks. Then after 2 weeks, you can come back here and test whether we are ready to proceed with our own trial. But basically what you are doing in a private prosecution basis is that you become the prosecutor. You are going to lay those charges and you must continue with the trial. But before you get there, you still have to deal with all the housekeeping issues to make sure that the matter is trial ready.
So in this particular private prosecution, the court has previously on Monday determined that the basis on which it comes to the court is not really watertight. How does this particular specific matter proceed based on the outcomes of the Monday process?
Remember that what the court was ruling on Monday was the agency of the matter, not the merits of the matter, which is where Part B will then come in. Now, if Part B comes in, it is argued and then it is ruled in the favor of President Ramaphosa. Then at the end of the day, when you attend these sessions which you are attending today, then the defense would be, you are here on a basis or on legal instruments which have not been recognized, legal instruments which are not within the correct side of the law. So you cannot call the individual to come in and account in terms of the summons that you are using. So you still have to respect both these two legal processes, despite the fact that it's the same court building, but they are adjudicated to by different presiding officers, which is why, by the way, there was a bit of confusion and a bit of concern in terms of saying what Court A, which is a civil court, does it have any power to direct Court B, which is your criminal court, as to what to do and what not to do, which is why we have these two legal streams going in a parallel manner that have to be observed. You still have to go to court despite the fact that there's an interdict against you.
So there's a provision in this process which talks about a failure of the prosecutor to appear. I just want to read it quickly. It says, if the private prosecutor does not appear on the day set down for the appearance, which is today, of the accused in the magistrate's court for the trial for the accused, the charge against the accused shall be dismissed. Again, our colleague was saying earlier that she saw the legal counsel come through but hasn't seen Mr. Zuma. This provision, does it apply to Mr. Zuma himself coming through, or is his legal counsel sufficient?
The legal rep can be sufficient, but it's always good to err on the side of caution and say, even you as a person who is going to instruct us and you're going to get those instructions from you must also be present. Because you must also remember the legal practitioner who is there does not do this for their own good. They do it under the supervision and instructions of their client. So the client must be here to give those particular instructions. However, concession can be made in a situation such as these ones, where the matter is not going to proceed and it's going to simply be your administrative matters which are going to take place or housekeeping measures which are going to take place. But it is it's a bit better if you have even the president being there, President Zuma being there, and his legal team being there to make sure that we are able to comply with Section 11 of the Criminal Procedure Act. So that's why they are here today, just to make sure that they are able to show the court that we are indeed serious. We want to take the matter forward. The order which was granted on Monday simply said that we are halting these particular proceedings for a bit. They're not saying that you must stop these particular proceedings.
So this particular matter has several moving parts, and sometimes it can be quite confusing. From a legal point of view, is this a clear-cut case just in terms of how you see the outcomes? or could it go either way?
You see, when it comes to Part B, which is whether the president is guilty of being an accomplice or an accessory after the fact, I think that's one is clear. The defense of the evidence is clear, and I think it's solid, because he would say, I'm a president of the country, I'm not the head of the NPA. I'm not here, or does not form part of my duties to chastise prosecutors who are misbehaving. That's purely the work of the National Director of Public Prosecution, that's purely the work of the Legal Practice Council, and those are the only two institutions that can be able to deal with these particular matters. If you would want me to act in that particular manner, in fact, you are telling me that I must manual in NPA cases, which is something which the Constitution and any other legislation which is applicable would not allow. So on this case, I'm not guilty. I could not have done something which is incorrect or against the law, and you have the law which has to back me and all the processes that I've engaged in. The only thing that I've done, which what any other reasonable person or reasonable president would have done, was that when a complaint comes to my desk, I will then forward it to the relevant individual to take care of that particular complaint for you, but I will not meddle in the issues of that are there. So all in all, the President Ramaphosa is innocent in this matter, and he is indeed correct in terms of saying, I will not partake in any disciplinary processes which the NPA would have to do, and I was not an accomplice in any particular matter. However, before he is able to state all of that, it's the court of law or within a dispute resolution forum such as a court in which we'll be able to respond in such a manner.
Yeah. So in response to Monday's processes, the Jacob Zuma Foundation was saying that that outcome from that Monday process was an outcome for the elite. What are your thoughts about that assertion?
Now, let's separate the two again. Part A, which is the urgency, and Part B, which is the merits of the matter, whether the president is guilty or not. When it comes to Part A, it was a bit not in the manner in which our courts have previously ruled on when it comes to matters of urgency, because the gauging or the assessment of irreparable harm was not that clear. The ignoring of alternative dispute resolutions or solutions that are there, such as the proceedings which are going to take place again, was something which was ignored. Ordinarily, if those two elements are there, then the matter is going to be struck off the roll or dismissed based on urgency or non-urgency of the matter. But in this case, with the court saying that this matter is urgent, and it only begs the question as to say, is it because the applicant is the president of the country, or can it then apply if I were to go to court today and say that I'm being sued and I'm going to be arrested next Friday? Can you please come to my aid so that I'm not arrested, or that so I don't have to appear in court? So it's on those bases in which maybe those particular comments were then coming in. But when it comes to Part B, I'm fully behind the president on this one. Indeed, he's not part and parcel of any disciplinary processes which are supposed to take place at the NPA, and he cannot be held liable for doing the correct thing or the right thing.
Yeah. And just in terms of a little crystal ball, in terms of today's proceedings, how do we see that panning out?
I think today they will come in, and there's going to be a date which is going to be after the 17th or the 18th of May, in which they're going to say, come back here for further housekeeping matters. Come back and report to us whether you received the particular order which was in your favor as a private prosecutor. If that's the case, then let's arrange further dates in which the trial is going to start. If you receive an unfavorable order as a private prosecutor, then it would mean that your matter would have died a natural death. You are simply coming here to confirm that the matter has been removed, or the cases have been withdrawn, or the matter has been struck off the roll.
How do you see it going? Either way.
I think I think at a later stage, I don't think this matter is going to proceed anymore.
Mr. Zikalala, please just hold on. Mr. Zikalala, please just hold on to your thoughts there. We're watching live footage coming out of the court. We suspect that it's the arrival of former President Jacob Zuma. So let's just wait and see. If indeed he does come through. There you have it. Former President Jacob Zuma arriving at the Johannesburg High Court for his private prosecution against sitting President Cyril Ramaphosa in that matter of the unlawful revealing of his medical certificate allegedly by advocate Billy Downer, giving it to journalist Karen Mon, who subsequently used it in her reportage, and the former president bringing in the incumbent President Cyril Ramaphosa, accusing him of not properly handling this matter and allowing it to go through. And of course, we are on the line with Gauteng Zikalala, who is just taking us through the motions. I don't know if you're still with us, Mr. Zikalala, just in terms of former President Jacob Zuma. There we have him arriving at the court. That on its own is a statement. He has arrived to carry out his private prosecution.
He definitely is saying that I want to comply with the provisions of the laws. I've read Section 7 or Section 11 has been read to me, and it's important that I'm here to give my legal team instruction. I clearly believe in what I'm prosecuting the president of, and I'm going to explain to the court that the postponements or the non-proceeding of the case today, it is something which is beyond my control. It was not set by me. There's a court order that has barred me from continuing. I'm still continuing disputing Part B of that particular court order. And once it is done and dusted or finalized, only then you can come back and give you definite dates as to when this matter is going to proceed.
Just in terms of that clause that I referred to earlier on about what the implications of appearance or non-appearance can be on this process, that makes his arrival significant.
Very much. In fact, I think it's one of the things in which would have made him wake up in the morning and say, despite the matter not proceeding today and being only there for housekeeping matters, I want to be there because I do not want to leave any loopholes in which, and another day, someone would come and say, yes, only your liquor rep was there. However, the certificate is issued in your name and not in the name of your liquor representatives. So I think it was important for him to then say, let me go to court, let the record reflect that I'm indeed here, waiting to prosecute at a later stage. I want to tell this court that there's going to be a slight delay, but give us enough time. After the 18th or the 19th of May, we'll then come back and give you a definite date as to what we are going to do with this matter.
Yeah. Just looking at some scenarios, it could go either way. This could be the end of the process, as you say, or it could be given new dates in which to continue. Let's look at a scenario where it does continue and former President Jacob Zuma presses on with his assertions that President Cyril Ramaphosa has a case to answer here. What sort of scenarios can we look at?
Firstly, it would need to first the first stage, which is the winning Part B of the application, which is going to take place in May. Now, on that one, it's going to be a bit difficult. Just remember that the NPA is now going to come in and give its version as to whether the certificate which is issued does really include the name of President Ramaphosa on it. Is he part and parcel of the people in which, when the NPA assessed this matter initially, thought, yes, they are part and parcel of the people or the suspects that are there, and we're still not going to press any charges against them. If the answer is true, then it would mean that but true in the sense that the name of the president is that included in the certificate, then mean that the certificate which has been issued is a valid one, and the proceedings are supposed to continue in the court that we're attending today. However, if the answer is no, which would then mean that the president was not included, was not part and parcel of the assessment of the NPA, then you may have a certificate which included all other individuals not specifically named, but the name of President Ramaphosa was not stated there, meaning that these particular proceedings are now moot, and you cannot proceed with them because you don't have another prosecuting certificate against President Ramaphosa.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question, and you can say if this is not your area, because it's known that this particular process also has political implications. On the political side, what kind of conversations do you think are taking place with the two protagonists, in order to say, for the sake of the African National Congress, how do we take this forward?
I think let's put in a bit of legal issues in it. There is a matter of an element of mediation that can take place between two parties that are in dispute. And I think it would be a high time for the African National Congress to then step in and say, you are both comrades, you are both former presidents, or one former and one current president. You occupy very high echelons within the offices of the African National Congress. Is this really a matter that cannot be resolved between the two comrades rather than going to court and be able to dispute it in the manner in which we are doing now? come back to Lutile House, let's discuss it, and let's take the matter forward. There are much more serious things that we need to look into rather than court battles between the former and the current president. So within those mediation proceedings, which are allowed, by the way, in our legal system, I think they can be able to resolve this matter once and for all.
That a sentiment has been echoed over and over again, that the country has a much more serious issues that it's confronted with. Thank you so much, legal expert there, Mpumelelo Zikalala, for your time this morning and your really great thoughts.